Yes. Hello, everyone. This is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Why am I saying yes? Because I am super excited for this conversation. Been a long time coming, but here we are now with Foxtail Somersault from the Bay Area, shoegaze indie dream pop band. We have Brian, James, Seiken here to join us in this conversation. Before we begin our conversation, I just want to let you know that if you have any questions for the band members, you can simply put them in the comment box and I can read them out loud. If you have any comments along the way, feel free to drop them along. If you have any memories from their shows, anything you want to share about their music, we'd love to hear from you. And if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, that would be great. Again, my name is W, aka William, host of the High Art on the Edge page, and I'm in the Bay Area. Let's get started with our conversation. Let's welcome Foxtail Somersault. Brian, Seiken, James, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Doing all right. Thanks.
So before we get into some discussion, I want to give you a little background as to how I first came across your music and how I actually used your music inside my classroom. So I heard your music. I think someone had actually posted it on YouTube, and I caught a whiff of it. And within seconds, I was like, ooh, what is this? Because I'm a big staunch supporter of dream pop, shoegaze, indie music. Well, it was Motionland song that I took to my classroom, and every morning we would do stretching, kind of getting our blood moving. We do a lot of like singing, if you will, and just kind of getting my students out of their comfort zone. Well, when I used that song Motionland, it became kind of our really energetic song where my students really learn how to kind of lose themselves in the music. And before this conversation, I had mentioned to you all that there was one time I was playing the song and I brought a student up with me to join me. And when the song was playing, all the lights were off. And I used to have all these kind of stagey lights that kind of moved with the tempo of the song. Well, during the last, as you know, 90 seconds of that song where it goes off this sonic explosion, my student just lost her mind in the sense where she was closing her eyes and doing all these twirls. It was a very unforgettable experience. And that always will resonate with me. So a testament to your music. So let's get started. Brian, I want you to tell us, what have you been doing over the last?
So, seeing somebody in the comments that said they're tuning in from the Oregon coast. It's where I live. I live in, well, not the coast, but I live in Ashland, Oregon. Moved here during COVID. Just got a new job about 2 weeks ago. Went to New Orleans for that. My wife and I are trying to resurrect. My wife actually was in Foxtail for a few months. She and I are trying to kind of bring back our old band, which is called the Northerlies. So we found a bassist and drummer here. So we're trying to get that off the ground again. And raising kids, playing with the dog.
Now, you were the bassist in the band, correct?
I was, yeah.
And tell us about that experience, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that was so long ago. That was really interesting because I've been trying to find a band to play with for a long time, and it was all through Craigslist. And finding a band through Craigslist is just like trying to find a girlfriend or boyfriend through Craigslist. Blind dates, a lot of experiences where you show up in the first 5 minutes, you're like, this is not going to work, but I brought all my shit here, so pardon my language, so I got to stay. And I found Seiken's ad, and he listed a lot of influences that had resonated with me. Particularly, I don't even know if you remember this, Seiken, the band Mono, which is kind of like a lo-fi style post-rock band that I had just started getting into at that time. And I was like, wow, could can we actually pull this sound off? All those guitar effects and whatnot. I really liked the tracks that he'd uploaded. And I remember going to rehearsal and just being stunned by all the sound that was coming out of his amp. And I felt that way almost every show. I was like, how does he do this? Same thing with you. How are these guys making all this stuff come out of the amp? Yeah, and so it was a great experience. We played a lot of venues that prior to joining a band in San Francisco, I never thought I would play at. And yeah, I don't even know how many shows we wound up playing. I mean, what would you guys guess? It's got to be over 100.
Yeah, no, it was 60 or 70.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I guess it's true because it's hard to play in San Francisco more than once a month.
Right.
So I guess that probably is true. Yeah.
And so,
though.
So we're going to move to Seiken, the founder of the band. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
All right, Seiken. So give us a little bit of history and like what motivated you to start this whole project.
Just playing around and just writing songs on my own and just how to get it out. So I've been playing ever since I was in high school, and been in several bands, but this one would be the second one in the Bay Area. So from moving up from Los Angeles, I sort of took a break and just focused on making money, working and doing other things, and just got back into it. And it was perfect timing.
So when you were down in Los Angeles, were you listening and immersing yourself into dreampop, shoegaze, indie kind of music?
Yeah, so the first wave, so I got to see all the original bands play live when I was real young. So it was awesome. There were some great shows down there.
So what were some of those bands that you remember seeing?
Lush, My Bloody Valentine, the Pale Saints, all those bands. They were incredible.
Yeah. And then I don't know the story behind this Foxtail Somersault. What's the origin of that name?
It's just a couple words that went well together. No particular meaning at all.
Okay. It's always been a great title.
Thanks.
James, tell us about your experience being in the band.
Yeah, well, I can summarize it in just saying that it was a lot of fun. Seiken and I met each other, I think, maybe through MySpace or something. I was playing in an indie rock band called Morning Spy in San Francisco. And just like you, I caught a whiff of the music, and I was hooked right away. I think the first track I heard was a love song, and I was just blown away by the guitar work. And so when I saw that they were Foxtail was playing, I think at Hotel Utah, I showed up. I think I don't know if you remember, Seiken, you had Dean Tomohiro playing bass for you that night, and a bunch of cast of characters. So I showed up, and we sort of met each other, and then Seiken showed up at a Morning Spy show, and introduced himself, and then fortunately we bumped into each other at another bar, seeing a mutual friend of ours play, and I told him I was working on a new project. He said he needed another guitar player, and I showed up on Sunday, 2 or 3 days later. And he's like, hey, what do you think? I'm like, so it was like kind of fast and furious, and we all just got along really well right out of the gates. And immediately it was kind of like we were best friends for the next 6 years. We saw each other basically 2 or 3 times a week. So it was, I think, probably the most fun period of my life was playing in the band with these two guys, and the rest of the members as well.
You say the 2 words Hotel Utah. I saw some amazing shows there. Unfortunately, I did not see you guys there, but that is, in fact, I believe that is one of the oldest bars in San Francisco.
Yeah.
if not the oldest, but someone could fact check me on that one. Brian, I got a question for you. So while being in this band, what were some of the challenges that came your way? Dealing and balancing your music life, your social life, anything you want to share with regards to that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like there was much of a challenge as far as balancing that. I mean, I guess just making the time for rehearsal financially, it was not easy because the rehearsal spaces in San Francisco are so expensive.
Sure.
And my equipment needed a huge upgrade too. I don't know if you remember, Seiken, when I first showed up, I had this piece of crap carbon bass amp and all that stuff. I really needed to upgrade all that. But no challenges really come to mind.
Were you living in the city, Brian?
I was living, when I joined, I was living in the inner Richmond.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, driving to and from the rehearsal space, 20 minutes away, wasn't too bad. We had some personnel turbulence, I guess, for a while, but nothing too bad. So the three of us, and a variety of other people coming in. So sometimes that was just challenging finding the right fit and stuff.
Seiken, where were these practices, these rehearsals? Where was the studio?
It was over on San Jose Ave, I believe.
James,
right. What was the studio called? Do you remember, James?
Oh yeah, I think it was just like San Francisco studio, something super generic. It was off of Geneva and San Jose.
Yeah. God, I wonder what the rent is now.
I don't think it exists anymore.
Probably not even there anymore. Yeah.
So actually, we used to share a spot with Loquat there, and then did we merge with Morning Spot?
Well, so I was with Morning Spy. When I bumped into these guys, we were sort of just dissolving, and I had the studio from two previous bands, including Morning Spy, and it was right on the first floor. Like, it was perfect if you were like a gigging band, which we were a lot, so we could roll our stuff right in the door. So they came downstairs and moved in with me, and I'm not sure what happened upstairs, but yeah, it was a pretty small world back then at that studio. You'd bump into all kinds of people like Loquat,
and a lot of metal bands.
A lot of metal bands.
Yeah, I forgot we were upstairs. I totally forgot about that.
Seiken, tell us a little bit about your background with music. Was something that was instilled since day one, or?
Picked up the guitar and I think beginning high school, and played in high school bands and things like that, and just always been playing. I recently just picked up Okinawan Sunshine. I'm learning that. It's a 3-string instrument, kind of like a banjo, but a different type of tone. But yeah, always been playing something, and just love playing.
Do you miss Seiken? That's playing that style, that ethereal dream pop shoegaze stuff.
I do, and what I miss the most is hanging out with my bandmates and all the different bands in SF. We used to hang out with bands like Astral, like Strip Mall Architecture. Let me see, Tomihira. There's so many great bands out in the city that I really miss performing with.
Yeah.
James, when did you guys know you wanted to give Foxtail Somersault a real shot at this as a career, or whatever, taking it to the next level?
Yeah, well, good question. I think that we, I don't think any of us ever really wanted to do it as a profession, because we were all, I think we were all pretty comfortable in our careers, and we had good paying careers while we were doing Foxtail as well. But I think that we recognized that we had the potential to get out on the road and start playing bigger venues around 2007, when we started picking up really good shows kind of all over the city. And pretty much any time we were playing, we had at least a couple hundred people showing up to the show in general, because we like Seiken mentioned, we were friends with a lot of the bands, and so we had a common group of people who were following us. And of course, in 2008, we were fortunate enough to win a contest that put us on stage at Lollapalooza. I think that maybe, around that time, we realized that maybe we could do it on a national level if we had sort of kept the train rolling in the same direction. But, again, I don't think any of us ever wanted to try to take a huge pay cut to be musicians and live out of a van for at the age we're doing it.
Being a teacher, as I mentioned, when I used to assign group projects, I would always talk to my students about tap into your strengths and then use it individually, and that will come collectively. So, Brian, what were some of the strengths you brought to the band?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Besides playing bass.
Well, you guys might have to speak for me on this. Did I bring anything to the table? I don't know. At one point, I got a really cool bass. I got a Rickenbacker. One of those.
I think I think Brian was always solid, easy to get along with, and agreeable, as in, you want to play the show, schedule is pretty not so hectic that we had to rearrange schedules and whatnot. He was pretty easy bandmate.
I think, one thing too, like, especially now that I'm playing guitar and not bass anymore, which I really miss actually, but and just experience with other bassists and drummers, I tended not to overplay. So I thought I hope at least I was playing material, playing what I was playing was appropriate to the material and appropriate to the song, and not like distorting the visions of the people who wrote the songs, which are typically Seiken and James. I have like fairly diverse musical interests, as we all do, musical tastes, and I like a lot of funk, but funk would not have been appropriate in our band. So I was pretty good at I think respecting boundaries and not shoehorning in an odd mix.
But you being a lover of funk music, did you have to kind of force yourself to like shoegaze dream pop?
No, I liked it. I probably wasn't really quite as into it as Seiken was at an early age, but I liked Slow Down quite a bit. Zuklaki was my favorite album of theirs. I liked the Cocteau Twins quite a bit, which I know isn't quite shoegaze, but I liked a lot of kind of ethereal, atmospheric, textured music. And by the time I joined Foxtail, I was really into Mogwai, and I really liked his their bassist approach, which kind of reminded me of Jane's Addiction, which I really liked in the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of almost like chordal playing on the bass, a lot of double stops and things like that. A lot of melodic bass lines while also being driving. So I was always pretty able to keep it separate. Like, I was never really somebody who was like, oh, I gotta fuse funk and shoegaze. It wouldn't have worked. But I do think some of my playing was probably a little bit informed by that, especially Escalator probably had a little bit of a more fun or something.
My name is William, host of the High Art on the Edge page. I am speaking with Foxtail Somersault. If you have any questions for Brian, Seiken, or James, feel free to put them in the comment box. Seiken, this question is for you. I want you to give us an idea of how did you arrange these songs? What was the process in composing?
So just like most musicians, had the multi-track recorder. So I would lay down a tempo, just a simple beat, and then work from perhaps a guitar or bass. I own my own bass and guitar, so I would start just arranging things that way, and sort of work my way through it, and then bring a rough idea to the rest of the mates, and they would be able to enhance it, basically.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to listen to about 45 seconds, 60 seconds of a song. And then, James, I'm going to throw you a question after we take a listen to Motion Lamps.
Sounds good.
So here we go. Okay. There we go. All right. So just listening to that song, I'm already getting little goosebumps. I'm already getting that moment with that student in the classroom and my students just jumping around. James, I want to know from you the memories of building that song or playing that song live.
Yeah, well, that was one of Seiken's songs that he already had sort of composed when I joined the band. So when I added my parts to it, it was I was trying to dance delicately around sort of what he built, and like Brian, trying not to overplay. I mean, my whole motto when I joined this band was there was already such a good foundation in place with Seiken's guitar that, one, I didn't really want to step on it. I wanted to kind of dance melodies around what he was doing. But fundamentally, I was like, if I come up with really easy parts, they'll be easy to play and will sound good every time you play them. And so that's kind of, what I was doing on that song. I had a very incredibly easy part that I think, got what I wanted done, accomplished. And as far as memories, I think one of my greatest memories, which certainly resonates when I hear that song, is playing at the Mezzanine with the Rosebuds during the, I think that was the Noise Pop Festival. And for some reason, I just remember, that performing that song in front of a really big crowd and just being in a really good mood that night. And it really felt like we were kind of on fire that night, and performing really well. So
that was a really good show. It was fun to play that song loud.
Yeah.
When you so Brian, this question is for you. So you had 2 EPs, Reflection, Fathom. I mean, just great tracks, Raven, Sirens, Lullaby. Was there a particular song that resonated with you, playing in the studio or live?
Yeah. Quite a few. I mean, I really liked both the love songs, the instrumentals. Those were really, really fun to play, and just the build and just the sheer volume. I've never played and probably will never play in a band as loud as we were. It was a lot of fun. Just really building. So those 2 songs, were great to play live. And I also liked it had a few different names. Flying Pieces, right? Yeah, that was really, really fun to play because James wrote that bass line, right? I think that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It was so much fun to play that one, though. Yeah, a lot of the bass lines that I played actually weren't written by me, and they were like Motion Man came up with that one. and those are my favorite ones to play. I don't know why.
That connection with the audience and the building, the architecture of these songs, I can only imagine. And there's some live stuff out there. You can find it on YouTube. It must have just been pretty amazing to have that wall of sound and looking out at the audience and seeing them close their eyes or whatever they were feeling.
Yeah, I remember one show, I think it was at the Red Devil, where it was Motionland actually, and I saw people singing along to it. I was like, wow, that's
nice.
I mean, they were just singing Motionland, but
yeah. Hey, there you go. Seiken, I want to know from you, while performing, did you get nervous, and how did you cope with kind of that jittery or nervous feeling?
Not too nervous, but a couple drinks right before the show always helps. But some liquid courage. I don't know about nervous. I think always thought about the venue, the sound check, and just getting everything sounding right, and that just having so much equipment made things possibly there's so many different things that can go wrong. So yeah, just that's a part where I would be more nervous about is equipment failures or not having everything set up correctly, or another thing is just strumming so hard, there's potential for breaking strings, and that used to happen all the time too. And once you break a string, everything goes out of tune, and it's not so pretty.
Fortunately, you had like 8 guitars. One thing that happened with us, like on a technical perspective, is we had a fog machine, and a lot of times it would make all our amps pop. Remember that? Like it would just be on the same, it'd be on the same circuit or something, and we wanted to fog the hell out of every room, so we'd be hitting that thing pretty heavy, and it would always make this.
Fog it with the rhythm.
What's that?
You got to fog with the rhythm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Fog with the kick drum or something. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
James, walk us back, retrace those steps, that magical time period of 2006, 2008. Anything you want to share about that?
Well, it was a really good time to be in San Francisco. There was a lot of bands. There was a lot of venues. People could actually afford to live there back then. It was just a really fun time to be in San Francisco. I was personally going through some changes in my life, some personal changes, coming out of a long relationship, and kind of, rediscovered myself a little bit when I met these guys, and, to hook up with a group of people that you see eye to eye on, or eye to eye with, and, become really good friends with, at that period of time in San Francisco, I think was really special, just because, I'm not the most social person, but it really felt like 2006 to 2008, anywhere we went in the city, we would bump into people that we know that were in other bands, and, we were just really connected, and the music scene was just really, really strong at that point. And not only the local music scene, but there was a lot of national acts coming through, a lot, discovering a lot of new bands all the time, seeing, Deer Hunter play at 12 Galaxies when they're like, probably 17 years old and nobody knows who they are, things like that, and that was just, I knew it was going to be a period of time. I knew it wasn't going to last forever, but I also knew it was a special time.
I've been to the city quite a few times in the last 2 weeks. I was just at the venue, the Kilowatt, to go see Reds, Pinks, and Purples. Right. Brian, I want you to tell us some very special venues or venues that you loved playing at.
Oh yeah, that's easy. So Great American Music Hall was a blast.
Yep.
Slim's was phenomenal to play at. Both Slim's and Great American and Independent, I guess all three of those guys, I can't remember, 2 of those loaded the stage for us, which was nice. And then, of course, the mezzanine, that show really stands out. I think that show was where we got the best sound. And like James said, just, every now and then, everything just kind of clicks. I think a lot of that is the product of how good your sound is and how good your mix is through the monitors. So the better you feel like you sound, I feel like the more confident you are when you play, and it just kind of creates this little loop. So yeah.
Seiken, during a live performance, some bands, when they construct their set list, it's very methodical. They're going to build tempo. They're going to build kind of a vibe around, that set list. Tell us about how you put together the set list. What was your approach?
Yeah, it was pretty similar, but we had, so depending on, I didn't want to. We have some instrumentals in our set, so just so we sort of had to break it up, to start with them, just because without the vocalist, not getting bored or not really being too active, so we like to open up with the instrumental parts or end with them. So other than that, I think it was more of a collaboration. It's not like I would just create a set list. I think we'd all agree on the order.
Yeah. James, okay, so now we're going to look in the rearview mirror a little bit here. If you could go back to that time period, what would you do differently, knowing what you know now?
Well, one thing I can say is that for as long as we were together, we didn't release enough music. I wish we would have put out more music. I think that we had the potential to put out, to release a lot more material. And I think one of the things that kind of worked against us was changing members, specifically our vocalist, too many times. It's really, that's the person that the band that's the person in the band that people connect with the most in most cases. And there seems to be attraction that just goes along with longevity in the industry. And not to say that I would change anything, but if I were forced to change something, it would probably be to let's get this lineup locked down, and let's focus on getting more material out, and let's keep the lineup together.
And Seiken, for you, what would you do differently?
Probably echo what James was saying, but some of the other things, just sit down and really appreciate the time. It's just sometimes it was real hectic and you sort of lose yourself, but yeah, it was such a great time. And yeah, one thing I do miss, just all the great bands that were, that we got to play with, the High Violets, Joy Wants Eternity. God, I can't, Astral, Tomohiro, and Rosebuds, Betty Savert. There's so many, great bands we got to play with, and that's what I really miss the most, really.
So we'll go back to James here. James, in terms of people wanting to get, Brian, actually, I'm going to give this question to you, Brian.
All right. Sorry, I have to keep the out.
No worries. So you probably know people that are starting in bands, up and coming musicians. What advice are you giving them, or what advice would you give them?
I don't know. If I could come up with some good advice, it would be advice that I would now follow in our second band. I don't really know. What a terrible answer.
I've got a good answer for you, man. Let me step in and help you out here.
Yeah, help me out.
Invest in good gear.
Yeah, that's a good one.
When you buy cheap gear, it sounds like shit and it depreciates. When you invest in good gear, it goes up in value and you sound amazing. So if you think about it, it's almost like a waste of time to not really invest in good gear. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's true. I actually just got this new amplifier over here that it's kind of like a I don't know. It's like a Fender Princeton, not a Fender though. That thing, it's just a little tube amp, and it just sounds so much better than the other guitar amp that I've been playing out of. And I feel like it. I mean, I've always felt that the better I sound to myself, the more inspired I am to play. And it's like this loop of, it to me, it just makes me feel like I'm more inspired to practice.
But so James, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. The reason why is because you might have someone like a Jack White.
Yeah, there is that. That's the thing. There's the inspired.
You, yeah. Give me the shit, and I'll make it sound like something. What do you think of that statement?
Well, let me also say that I play in a band right now. I actually switched from guitar to bass, and the bass that I play is a $200 bass. Now, I've got a few $1,000s worth of foot pedals on the floor. But the tool that's right for the job is right for the job. Just saying from an investment perspective that, don't talk yourself out of buying something really nice because ultimately
don't play
value.
Right. Don't play with equipment that you resent. That you're carrying around like, God, I hate this thing.
Well, also when you show up to play a show, if you have marginal equipment or worse, people know, and it make, you can't replicate the way you sound in your bedroom on stage, and so if you're showing at a show with weak gear, in most cases, that's kind of what you're doing. Although there is room for, inexpensive gear in the setup and certainly for the right application,
Yeah,
sure.
Actually, to kind of piggyback on what he's saying, like some good advice is just, make sure you master all your stuff. Like we played with vocalists who we had to kind of do all their settings, set up all their gear, and that's no good. Like make sure you kind of take the time out and the responsibility to learn how to set up your gear.
Yeah. Seiken, when did the band officially call it quits?
I would say probably sometime in 2011, I think 2010, 2011, around that.
We played a show in 2012. We played our last show in 2012. So,
wow.
Sorry to fact check you.
Wasn't it 2013? Because we got married, and I thought right after we got married, we played at Slim's and.
Did we?
Yes.
I called it quits. Are we broken up?
Oh wait, calling it quits. Yeah. Well, so those were like reunion shows. That's right. Yeah, we never really did officially resign.
That's funny. Seiken, so what have you been doing since then? What are you doing now?
Yeah, so just just being a father most of the time, and just fiddling a little here and there. I could see myself, perhaps starting something, soon, one of these days,
When you say something, are you referring to just getting back into music, or are you talking about Foxtails?
Yeah. Well, could be either. Not sure.
Okay. All right. And James, what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I moved out of the city in 2021 after being there for 20 years. And, I'm not being a father, but I have a COVID dog that is like having 6 kids. And, I'm still playing music. I've been in 2 other bands since Foxtail. I play bass in a band called Drowning Effect, which is kind of a louder garage rock with a little psychedelia on the guitar going. Just adulting, doing the adult thing.
Yeah. And then Brian, you mentioned that you're in Ashland, Oregon.
Yep.
And you got a new job.
Yep.
But we're playing some music.
Yeah, we it took us a little while to find the right personnel, and so by the time we did and we got our set list together, we were it was too late in the season to really get any live shows, like how the places that we would play around here were booked, mostly wineries. But we played this small little bar in Medford. Maybe 10 people showed up. They were all our friends and family. It was a cool place though, and it's really fun. this is again like the second iteration of this band. We broke up around the same time Foxtail did, actually. Once we had kids, we kind of stopped playing. And I feel like this iteration has a lot of potential because our drummer is so good. Yeah. So yeah.
Seiken, I have to ask you this question. Are there unreleased Foxtail tunes sitting in a vault?
I think James might actually have those answers. I would have to search. There's things that we were working on prior to ending. Not sure what state they were in. So not really sure if there's releasable material there.
James?
Yeah, not good, not in good recordings. We have some live recordings of some material, and I think that's it. But we did have some stuff that we were working on that never was officially recorded. In addition to that, we had a whole slew of interesting cover songs that we did that I wish we would have recorded. Fortunately, we did record a couple of them, and we've got a really nice cover of the Sugar Cubes' birthday up on YouTube with Brian's wife singing, and it's really amazing. It's gotten a lot of views.
It is stunning.
Thank you.
It is very stunning. So Brian, I'm going to ask you this question: if you guys were to play a show in the city, I want you to pick one venue.
Oh God!
What would be that venue? And it cannot be Slim's because Slim's is now.
No, I would love to play Great. Yeah, Slim's closed, huh?
Yeah.
Sucks. What about Great American? Are they still around?
Still there.
All right, probably them. Either them or the Independent. Well, that's two. Great American.
Seiken, where are you for you?
I would say the Makeout Room, just because that was our first show.
Oh yeah, are they still around?
Yes, I just passed it. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Still there. James, what about for you?
Well, I will say that the Makeout Room has a special history. I met Brian there. The first time I met Brian was at the Makeout Room. When I joined Foxtail Somersault, it was because I bumped into Seiken and he was with Brian at the Makeout Room, and I met my wife at the Makeout Room, believe it or not. So it's hard to not say the Makeout Room, but since Seiken already picked that one, I would say the Chapel, because it's a new venue. We haven't had a chance to play there, and that place brings in a lot of good talent. So
it certainly does. Yeah. Okay. Before we wrap this up, anything else you want to share regarding your experience with Foxtail? We'll just go around the horn. Brian, go.
Yeah, it really, really was a great time. Like Seiken and James have said, a big part of the appeal and the memories for me is just all the bands we played with that I was exposed to that I probably never would have heard of otherwise, and almost, I don't really remember playing with anyone who was an asshole. Everybody was really, really friendly, which honestly kind of surprised me. I really hadn't, prior to that experience, shared the stage with very many other bands, and there really weren't very many egos to deal with. And yeah,
that's great.
Really, really fun.
Seiken, what about you?
Yeah, it was a great time, and do miss my buddies James and Brian, and and both Marks. We had both two drummers named Mark.
That's right. Yeah, I learned that earlier today. What about you, James?
Yeah, I'll just echo those sentiments that, it was a really fun experience playing in Foxtail Somersault. I was, really humbled by some of the experiences we had, obviously I mentioned that we played Lollapalooza, which was great, but one of the humbling experiences that I still think about is the road trip there and a couple of the shows that we played along the way in random places like Kansas City, where kids showed up and knew our songs and knew the covers that we played, and that was a humbling experience for me. coming out of a little indie rock band in San Francisco. Not that we were a huge band, but just going to another city, 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away, and like people know who you are and know your songs. And I don't think that I'll ever experience that again. I'm in a different period of my life. But I will say that there was a point in time when I knew that we were doing something really fun, really special, and that there was, that the time was ultimately going to come to an end. And I wish it hadn't, guys. I wish we were still playing 2 shows a month around San Francisco, but I'm glad we got to do it when we did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, and you know what? I never saw you guys live. Damn it.
That's a bummer because we were so much. There was no way a recording could really capture what we were doing. And I mean, I'm not trying to say that to brag, but I always tried to impart that on people that this is the recording, but like you got to see us play live because there's just so much happening sonically that you can't really capture and put on a little piece of plastic.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with what are you listening to, or what are some albums that you'd like to recommend? So this is the portion of the conversation I have with the artist where they get to bring some albums, vinyl, tape, whatever, 8-track, digital, Spotify, wherever. And they're going to share with you some albums that they're going to recommend. So, Brian, we're going to start with you. What are some albums that you love or anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think I'll start in kind of reverse chronological order, I guess. A couple years ago, I got really into these guys. Let's see if this works on my phone. It's not going to work, is it? Hang on, let me try it again. Lord Huron. Yeah, I actually saw them live in Chicago not too long ago, and they just hit a lot of the notes I like. A ton of reverb, a lot of like baritone guitar, fairly simple drums. Not really very many guitar solos. They just do a lot of texture, a lot of acoustic guitar in the background, but mostly like this deep baritone guitar carries it on a lot of tracks. So really into them. I'm pretty sure a lot of people mention this, but I'll mention it anyway. As far as like a influential album for me, and maybe I'm stealing one from Seiken, but Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cocteau Twins. Doubt that really needs any introduction or discussion with your audience. But just going in, when you had talked about like reflecting on albums that were pretty instrumental and informing what we do and what we listen to and what we play, that's definitely one. My ex-roommate from college introduced it to me, and that just really kind of opened a lot of doors, I feel like. And that lastly, I really like this, and I haven't heard much of these guys lately. And I mean, they just kind of fell off my radar, and they're still doing a lot. Don't really know how to Sigaros. Don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce that.
I've never tried.
Yeah, it's a really, really good album. That also kind of opened a post-rock door for me and led me into like Mogwai and Mono, like I mentioned with Seiken. And that was awesome because we wound up playing with quite a few post-rock influenced bands. Those are
great picks. And by the way, Seiken and James and anyone tuning in, if you've never seen Lord Huron live, they are fantastic.
Yeah, they are great.
They just exhaust the tank. I love the storytelling behind his lyrics. They seem to have a really cohesive, collaborative spirit on that stage.
Yeah.
And man, they're just, it kind of hits you like midway through the show, like, damn, this is good stuff.
It's interesting. It's kind of like a narrative. It's like a concept album show.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And great picks on those other two. Okay, Seiken, what about you? What are some of your inspired albums here?
So, this just recently got re-released.
I was going to name them. Not that album.
Yeah, and
Great though.
yeah, on blue vinyl looks, sounds beautiful. And another classic.
Oh yeah.
And what else am I gonna? So I have so many albums that I brought out, but let me see. What would be my third? Probably Jesus and Mary Chain. Probably Psycho Candy would be my one of my main influences, really.
So let's go back. Yeah, go ahead, James. Let's go back to the Mugwai album. What is it about Mugwai that you really appreciate, Seiken?
Just I would just say the whole package. From drums to guitar to bass. Just everything just sounds so blended well together, and just the different textures, the different intensities. They brought the loud and soft, and yeah, just the notes. The notes resonate with me. Just you can feel the emotional impact of the album.
You're gonna get a little irritated with me. I've never seen them live. Oh.
They're so loud. They're really good.
But I hear that it's astonishing.
Yeah.
It's an astonishing show. And they've been through San Francisco many times. I just haven't. Yeah, don't get me started on bands I should have seen and I haven't seen, including you guys. So, and Tom
Bring
Waits.
earplugs.
Yes, that's what I hear. Okay, so I want to talk to you quickly about Smashing Pumpkins. So is that your favorite Pumpkins album, or is that the one that really just you connect to them?
I think that's probably my favorite. Just the sheer I guess the song construction. I thought they did their thought every song really was done well.
What was the third one?
Third one was Jesus and Mary Chain. I didn't bring that one out. It's
Oh
out.
yeah.
Psycho Candy, just the sheer, it was just came out. I was young, and it was so interesting what they did with feedback, and it still resonates with me.
Well, they're still going strong, and I have to say that when I saw them open up for Nine Inch Nails, it was like a pay it back kind of thing where Nine Inch Nails opened up for them, and then they reversed it. They sounded terrific. They sounded like they're just back in that element and that groove. So yeah, good stuff. Jesus and Mary Chain. Okay, James, we're going to move over to you.
Yeah, well, I'll first say that Siamese Dream is a great one. That's the album I learned to play the guitar to, and I second the notion on that one. The one I broke out was this little doozy, which Luna is my favorite band of all times, and not very shoegazy, but without going into too much detail, if I hadn't discovered these guys back in 1993 or 1994, whenever I bumped into the Bewitched album, I probably wouldn't be sitting here, just because I found my previous band by doing search on Craigslist and looking for bands that were under the same influence, and that's how I ended up in the music scene in San Francisco. I found a band that the vocalist sounded like Dean Worm of Luna, and that's how I ended up connecting with these guys. So that's up there on the list. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it, but Storm in Heaven by The Verve is one of my favorite guitar albums of all time. I think that just the guitar work on that album is just so far ahead of its time, and even today I don't hear guitar work like that. And the way the album is constructed in its entirety, it just flows through every sense of emotion that you could ask for out of a piece of music. So that is probably another influence. And then just to throw out something current that I've been really into lately is, I'm not sure how well you can see that, but I've been listening to this band, Ghost Woman, which is, this is a really, really, really good, this is a really good find. I've been listening to a lot of like 60s throwback music, which is kind of what my band Drowning Effect, we do a little bit of 60s throwback sound, and that's where a lot of our influence comes from. So I've been listening to like a lot of just random stuff off of Spotify, hooking off of Ty Segall and White Fence, and other bands that that have a little bit of throwback in their history. And bumped into Ghost Woman a few months ago, and am absolutely obsessed with this band right now. They're probably my number one current band to go to on Spotify.
Can you guys do me a favor on this last thing? If you can you type in some of these titles for us?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can. Thank you for all those suggestions. Much appreciated. We're going to wrap this up, everyone. If anybody has any last-minute comments, statements, that would be great. Here's one Seattle does. Says, Brian, since you are a fellow Orgonite now, would like to see you playing live. Then thanks. You said thanks. Keep an eye out for the Norlives. We will play throughout Oregon next summer. Fantastic.
We'll try.
We'll try. So what I'm going to do here to wrap this conversation up officially is I'm going to play just a smidgen of that phenomenal Sugar Cubes cover that you guys did. And what I'm going to do is you're going to see me type some comments along the way. If you want to respond to my comments, great. If you want to just write your own, what you're feeling, great. It'll be about 2 minutes. And then I'll just say my parting goodbyes here and we'll wrap it up. So everyone listening, I'm going to play Foxtail Somersault's rendition of the Sugar Cubes classic Birthday, which to me, that is a gutsy call because it's the Sugar Cubes and it's Bjork and it's that legendary iconic song. But what I love about this version is that, in my opinion, you completely flipped it on over its head and just went for it. So we're going to listen to that right now. And again, I'm going to write some comments along the way. Here we go. We got to get through the... Get through the ad here for a sec.
Haven't heard that in a long time. Hey.
That is so damn good.
Thanks, William.
Thanks, William.
It's hold on a sec. There you go. That is, see, those are those moments in life where you go, okay. Well, so for me, where that song, I lose myself. I think about my father who was very ill 3.5 years ago. I think about students that I've had that are severely autistic, but still found a way to come up and show up at my classroom every day. I think about difficult moments I've had with people from the past, and I think about very moving moments in my life. It really addresses what I love about shoegaze, dream pop, indie music. It pulls together a phenomenal and sensational amount of feelings. And what you do with those feelings inside that sonic tidal wave, there are no boundaries. It pushes you in all these directions. And I mean, I hope Bjork, I hope Bjork you hear this one day. And you know, it's very impressive. So sorry, I had to get fanboyish there, but it's a diamond of a song. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brian, Seiken, James, Foxtail Somersault. This has been a real treat. Thank you so much for participating in this. Seiken, thank you for I'm glad we connected and we were able to have this materialize, and grateful for all the music and conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you everyone for tuning in to High Art on the Edge. We have a lot more events coming up, including we have one, Matt Catling, if you're into post-rock, psych rock, that kind of stuff. He goes by the name of Under the Sun. So that will be on October 1st. So check that out. Brian, cheers. Seiken, cheers. James, band of Foxtail, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, William.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.